One final evening, one final towel animal. I got a heart. Alright friends, so I had the hardest time finding a quiet place to record, but here we are in a stairwell. I forgot to do my morning greeting this morning. I realized I started recording other things and I was like, oh boy. So this is it. This will be the first thing you see, most likely. And then we'll just work it in sequence as best we can. But anyway, last day today, it's a sea day. We started out with some weather. I woke up at about 10:30ish and it was like pouring down rain. So they've rearranged and moved some of the activities and stuff around. But yeah, so it seems like things are relatively back to normal now. It's pretty humid out there, as a matter of fact. But anyway, I'm gonna go grab some food. I'm gonna see what the buffet looks like right now. And then if not, I'm gonna go get some tacos. So yeah, of course, I'll take you with me. We'll see what we see and do what we do. And we'll talk soon.
Throw it. Boom, chakalaka. Oh. All right, keep stand right there. Go, quack, quack, quack. Good. All right, Maryland in the house. 3, 2, 1, go there. No. In the house. 1, 2, 3, go Maryland. Woo!
They were constantly having little activities like that in the lobby atrium, and so I stopped and recorded a little bit of the paper airplane contest, and then I made my way up to the buffet. In general, the buffet on Carnival Elation was very nicely equipped. They had different stations, and it was really nicely set up as well. There were a couple of places to get included drinks, and also soft serve in there as well. And if you're a fan of build your own salad, that's definitely the place for you, because they had a full-on buffet dedicated just to that. And from what I could tell and what people were saying, the food was good. I never actually tried the buffet. That's something I will do on my next Elation cruise, but I'm much more of a fan of the deli and the pizza and the tacos from Blue Iguana and stuff like that. And tacos is what I decided to have again, which of course are always good in my opinion. And I also hung out on the pool deck for a little while. There were several people out there, you know, just kind of hanging out and doing their thing, being that it was a sea day. I even made my way over to the tequila bar so that my bartender there would make me a Dos Equis red beer, and I had a couple of those before heading back down to my room. Alright y'all, so I'm back to the room for a bit. Thought I'd update you. I got the disembarkation information. I'm going to do the express walk-off in the morning. One thing I'm noticing, it says for breakfast options, the buffet or the Imagination restaurant, not Blue Iguana, which is interesting, because I've done Blue Iguana on debarkation day a couple of times. They have great breakfast burritos there, and that's usually the only day that I get up early enough to experience them. And apparently that's not a thing this time, so that kind of sucks. Also, the Wi-Fi. Let's talk about that. I have talked about how horrible Carnival's Wi-Fi is just in general. I know in their Excel class, their newer ships, they have some of the best Wi-Fi at sea, but that is not the case on this ship or pretty much any other Carnival ship I've been on. I think Radiance was good, but that ship was just redone. But the others have been spotty at best. And today it has been the absolute worst, to the point where I haven't had any ability to contact anyone in the outside world, or even my neighbor across the hall. So that's been fun. But otherwise, I've enjoyed this cruise. I mentioned this a few times in this series, but I'll say it again. I'm on this ship because my grandfather invited me on a cruise over a decade ago, and I wasn't able to make it happen. And this was the ship that we were meant to have been on. And I've always regretted not experiencing that with him, because, you know, he loved all things travel, trains and planes and ships and whatever. So I know he would have, you know, been absolutely in his element here. I may have been hooked on cruising a lot earlier had I actually gone back then. But anyway, I'm going to insert some pictures. My sister was actually able to go on a cruise with my grandfather on this very ship a year after I was meant to go. So she sent me a few pictures that she found of that trip. It's only like 4 or 5, but I have gone and taken pictures at those same spots to try to, you know, more or less recreate them, just to see what's changed and that kind of thing. So that's probably already happening as I'm speaking right now. But as you can see, a lot of the areas are the same or similar, but especially the mini golf and stuff, they moved it to a different area, and they put cabins actually where the old mini golf used to be. And now it's just a giant sun deck up there, because they actually added an entire level to the ship, so. But anyway, I've rambled enough, so we'll talk soon. So I hung out in my room until about 45 minutes before dinner, and then I made my way out into the lobby atrium. As I was passing through, I thought about stopping at the lobby bar for a drink, but ultimately I decided I wanted to go to Alchemy instead, because of course that's my favorite bar on board, and my favorite bartenders were there, and all of that. And I had a drink or two with Andrea and the gang until it was time to head downstairs to dinner. After dinner, we decided to go do the 90s trivia, but this time with our table mates instead of our LGBTQ friends. And this was really similar to the 80s music trivia, but most of us were around the same age and from that era, so we did pretty well. We did miss a couple of them because Neil really didn't make it easy, and so once again, no ship on a stick. But we danced and sang along and had a good time anyway. The LGBTQ event was happening at the same time as this, so as soon as it was over, I literally raced back up to Alchemy, because this is the last opportunity that I had to hang out with my friends, and I promised them that I'd be back. So I made it back up to Alchemy, and I was happy to see them all there still, especially Peter, because being that he's Fun Squad, he has to get up pretty early in the morning some days, and so it's not always easy for him to stay out late with us up at Alchemy. Him and I had actually bonded pretty well throughout the week, and so we made sure we had contact information for each other, and I promised him that he'd see me again. I also did the same with Andrea, the bartender, and added as many of the LGBTQ people on social media as I could. I snapped this picture of all of us from the Alchemy bar. These are the people that I mostly hung out with all week. There are a few missing, like Blake and Zane, but there's Michael, who's the closest to me, and then Kevin and Patrick in the back, and Pat was showing Peter, who's mostly obstructed by me, something on his phone. And while I was sitting there, a bunch of my table mates came back up as well, and we had one last drink together. From left to right, we've got Cressley, Travis, Ashley, Trey, and Michaela. There were a few from our table who couldn't make it up there for a photo. We'd been trying to take one together all week. There were actually 10 of us at the table, and it was a really lively, interesting group, and we all just had so much fun together. I am back to the room. One final evening, one final towel animal. I got a heart. Yeah. It's always bittersweet, kind of sentimental the last day, and this was a fun cruise, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. So that's it. Another cruise is in the books. I'm getting ready to leave the room so that I can debark the ship here shortly. It's bittersweet, but sadly that's how this thing goes. Another good, awesome, amazing trip in the books. The one thing I didn't talk about is the quest game, because there's absolutely no footage of that because we were forbidden. But that was so much fun. If you're ever on a cruise and, you want something fun that's definitely adult, 18 plus and not for the easily offended, the quest game is so much fun. But anyway, everything else I've already talked about in the various vlogs. If this is the first one you're seeing, maybe go back and watch a couple of the other ones and, get an idea of what the whole trip was like. But either way, I want to thank you all so much for traveling with me. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. We'll talk soon, and y'all have a good night.